Chapter 281, Getting Famous. Han Shao was very busy over the next couple of days. He traveled through the majority of the Lancelot Empire through the teleportation matrices. Within these few days Han Shao had killed 3 archmages, 4 swordmasters and a great swordmaster, all through challenges. At the start the challenges were rather smooth because Han Shao's age was extremely deceiving. His enemies would think that he was of no threat and would furiously accept the challenge after being provoked by Han Shao. Later on, after continuous successful challenges made Han Shao's name infamous, and when many powerful people linked together the identity of the people who had been killed, they silently started to have their own ideas. Towards the end, the last 3 powerhouses on the list suddenly disappeared. Even after the Dark Mantle conducted thorough searches, they were unable to obtain any intelligence. Whenever Han Shao reached a city, all of the experts within city would become worried regardless of whether they'd done anything that they should feel guilty about. All of them were afraid that Han Shao would look for them, and so they all disappeared under the guise of traveling. These people couldn't help it, as the people that died in Han Shao's hands in recent days were all heavyweights. If they did not accept Han Shao's challenge, then it would have a huge impact on their reputation. But once they accepted it, they might lose their lives. That's why they had no other choice but to find an excuse and hide. When a great swordmaster died in Han Shao's hands, that caused the notorious name of the young expert Brian to reach its climax, causing the rest of the names on the list to disappear. That was why Han Shao could only return to Asen City for further instructions from Candide. Lord Candide, it's not that I didn't try my best. The 3 people in the end disappeared completely. It seems that I can only wait until you find them. Han Shao and Candide were in a small room at the north of the city. You did very well. His Majesty has already heard about your work. There is temporarily no need to take care of those 3 guys. We have another troublesome matter on our hands. If you can complete this task, His Majesty will definitely help you and grant you a noble title, Candide said with a low voice. He frowned, and taking a sip from the cup of tea in his hands, "Oh, what is it?" Han Shao momentarily blinked, then asked. Lia Kane of the Brute Merchants Alliance also has the power of a great swordmaster. This person is titled the Crazy Swordsman. He is extremely vicious and savage but have great power. He's currently in Asen City. In the recent few days he's challenged 3 great swordmaster in Asen City and was extremely disrespectful after winning. This has caused His Majesty to greatly dislike him. His Majesty means to have you challenge Lia Kane. If you can defeat Lia Kane, then His Majesty will ignore the Church of Light's pressure and fully protect you and bestow upon you a noble title. It's just that Lia Kane's strength is extraordinary and possessed the strength of a great swordmaster more than 10 years ago. According to the Dark Mantle's news, this Lia Kane is very close with His Highness the First Prince, Prince Charles. Due to your relationship with Lawrence, I'm afraid that you might lose your life if you are unable to beat him. Candide looked truly worried about Han Shao. Where is this Lia Kane right now? Han Shao was not afraid at all as he asked Candide with a smile. In the garden house at the northern part of the city. The garden house is the property of the first prince, Prince Charles. Other people doesn't know this, but the Dark Mantle nationally does. It is also through him staying at this place that we guess that he is related to the first prince. What are you planning on challenging Lia Kane? Although they're both in the great swordmaster realm, the difference in strength between one just entering it and one that has been in it for 10 odd years is really large. Furthermore, Lia Kane is called the Crazy Swordsman. He will be extremely difficult to deal with, Candide exclaimed. Don't worry, I will deal with him. Han Shao finished the entire cup of tea in one gulp and directly stood up. Then he smiled. To be honest, I kind of got addicted to the continuous challenges recently. In the recent few days Han Shao had continuously fought against several powerhouses, causing him to subtly feel like his strength was about to break through to the next level. The only way to quickly improve in the bloodlust realm was through battle and slaughter. When he did so against Master, his strength improved even more quickly. In 8 continuous battles Han Shao challenged archmages and swordmasters, all of them powerhouses who were rather famous. He challenged a great swordmaster at the very end. That person was very dangerous. It was only though that fight had Han Shao felt like that he showed signs of a breakthrough. By now Han Shao definitely wouldn't use the little skeleton Earth Elite zombie or Wood Elite zombie. With his magical cultivation in the Bloodlust realm, he was able to face a great swordmaster head on. If he didn't use the magical advantages he had, Han Shao still had strength equivalent to a great swordmaster. Liu Kang was possibly a bit stronger than a great swordmaster. Perhaps Han Shao might run into some trouble, but if he used the little skeleton, the Earth Elite zombie and the Wood Elite zombie, Han Shao believed that he would absolutely succeed in killing Liu Kang, and so didn't pay heed to Candid's worries at all. Be careful, this guy is just very dangerous. He is famous for being hard to deal with in the Brute Merchant Alliance. Don't relax your guard. Seeing that Han Shao was walking outside, Candide issued a reminder as he was still worried. Understood, I'll be going then, Han Shao replied, then walked outside. Brian. Just after leaving the inn, he heard Emily's voice ring out from a carriage at the corner of the street. Chester, dressed like a carriage driver, waved his hand towards Han Shao. The Dark Mantle's information network was everywhere, adding onto the relationship between Emily and Candide. It was not hard if she wanted to find Han Shao. Han Shao also knew that Emily would come and find him. That's why he hadn't been surprised at all when he heard Emily's voice. Han Shao looked around and suddenly saw a carriage parked afar. The knights at the entrance of the carriage were all familiar faces. The curtains of the carriage were lifted to reveal Lawrence's face. Lawrence was looking at him with a face of excitement, as if he had a lot to say. Han Shao first stepped towards Emily and said, "Wait a moment for me." With that, Han Shao then quickly walked in front of Lawrence's carriage and called out softly, "What are you doing here?" I accidentally found Madame Emily's carriage hurrying over here. I thought about it, then followed. I didn't think that I would actually find you." Lawrence gave a soft hot laugh as he said to Han Shao. Han Shao understood that Lawrence might know about the relationship between him and Emily, so he merely rolled his eyes at Lawrence without saying anything. "Alright, what did you come to find me for?" "Haha, I heard that you beat several experts in a row and that you now have an enormous reputation. I didn't think that you were no longer hiding yourself and had started to truly reveal your prowess. This is for the best. In the last few days I went to the royal palace twice. His Majesty asked me some things about you, seeming to be very interested at you. This is a good sign." Lawrence was clearly very happy as he spoke with a smile. "Of course he is paying attention to me. His Majesty told me to challenge Liu Kang, so I'm thinking about killing him now," Han Shao said plainly. The moment he said that, Lawrence felt shocked, then insanely happy as he said, "Liu Kang is on the side of the first prince, Prince Charles. I am certain about this through my own means." "Brian, are you confident in killing him? What do you think?" Han Shao looked towards Lawrence with a smile that was not quite like a smile and replied with a question. "Of course you do. You are very miraculous, I believe you. How about this? I'll help you since you're going to challenge Liu Kang and spread this far and wide. As long as you can beat Liu Kang, your notorious name can be bleached." Since Liu Kang is someone of the Brute Alliance, there is probably no one in our nation who likes him. Lawrence laughed evilly. "Do as you'd like. If there's nothing else, then I'll find you after killing Liu Kang," Han Shao said. "Nothing else, nothing else. Go and busy yourself with your own business." Lawrence smiled strangely as he looked towards Emily's direction. From Lawrence's expression and speech, Han Shao understood that the former already knew about the relationship between himself and Emily. This was likely because he'd noticed Han Shao and Emily hiding behind a fake mountain and getting intimate during his family's banquet. He became even more certain about this after the events of Valen City. However, with Han Shao and Lawrence's relationship right now, Han Shao naturally believed that Lawrence would seal his mouth shut. There was nothing good about this for Lawrence at all if it came to light. I'll be off then," Han Shao replied, then turned and walked towards Emily's direction. "Let's go," said Han Shao after arriving at Chester's location and entered Emily's carriage. Brian, too miraculous. That pill was too miraculous. Emily leapt into his embrace the moment Han Shao entered the carriage, grabbing him tightly and voluntarily presenting her lips in obvious emotional agitation. Chester acted like normal, pretending that he hadn't heard anything as he slowly drove the carriage down the street. After Chester's carriage left, Candide gazed at the direction the carriage left and out of the shadow of a corner. foreigner. He muttered, I was wondering why Emily would help him so much. So this is why. This brat's courage for lust is truly huge. He's with Emily alright. God, what a playboy. Chapter 282. The repute of a genius. At the garden house in the northern part of the city, lush palm trees filled the structure that was suffused with the fresh feeling of spring. The garden had been arranged in an exquisite fashion with all sorts of flowers emitting pleasant fragrances and had been planted in the surroundings. Several maids moved carefully amongst the flowers, watering and pruning them. First, Prince Charles was squinting as he conversed with a crude-looking man on a soft patch of grass. The latter had 2 criss-cross scars on his neck, was 1.75 meters tall and looked very sturdy with his brawny arms and legs. His eyes glinted with a brutal beastly light. Mr. Liela, you shouldn't have challenged those 3 great sword masters as soon as you arrived. You've just arrived here from the Brute Merchants Alliance. After all, in our nation is prejudiced against foreigners. If my father finds out that you're one of my people, this could affect his impression of me. Charles frowned with displeasure, clearly irritated by Leah Kane's unauthorized acts. Leah Kane leered and chuckled, saying brazenly, Your Highness, First Prince, although I've joined your banner upon arriving in the Lancelot Empire, I don't have to listen to you for all matters. I am a swordsman first and foremost. Since I've come all the way to the Lancelot Empire, I will challenge the local experts as according to my habits. How else will I be able to improve my skills? Damn it, what a brute. Why don't you go challenge Carl Ascot if you've the balls to? Let's see how horribly you die then. Charles cursed inwardly, his expression darkening even further. He turned to Leah Kane. Let's just drop this matter. I hope you tell me before you do anything like this next time. Do you remember the Brian whom I mentioned to you? The one I wanted you to help me kill? Leah Kane blinked momentarily, then nodded. Oh, the kid with the strange techniques that you mentioned last time? What? Has he appeared in Austin City? Do you want me to kill him today? Shaking his head ruefully, Charles said, the situation is different now. Brian's reputation has greatly increased over the past couple of days during his leave of absence from Austin City. His reputation has grown greatly after challenging these experts, and now word on the street is that he's returned to challenge you. After this news was released, all of the nobles and experts within Austin City began paying close attention to this. You've been training in the garden house, so you may not have been aware of this, but even my father is interested in this matter now. It's no longer appropriate for you to kill him secretly. What I mean for you to do is, why not go and challenge him directly, then kill him in that way. No one will be able to say anything about this then. What do you think? No, absolutely not. Who am I? I'm Leah Kane. How can I lower myself to challenge this and win breadth? HMPH, I'd welcome it if he challenged me, but I'd never go to the door of an infamous kid just to challenge him. Leah Kane rejected this suggestion soundly, with no room for discussion. Sitting in his chair, Charles viciously swiped at the armrest and cursed inwardly again. If it wasn't for you really having some skill to your name, I'd already have someone kill you where you stand. Damn it. You're just a brute. How dare you repeatedly talk back to me? Alright then. There are many people paying attention to this matter now. There have been some people circling the garden house for the past 2 days. They're likely waiting for Brian to come and challenge you. I'm not at liberty to come find you. You just need to mind yourself. If Brian comes, you must kill him immediately to prevent further troubles from developing. Charles was a bit irritated as he stood up after speaking to Leah. Don't worry, he'll be dead without a doubt if he dares to challenge me. HMPH, all young men are asking to die these days by acting so cockily. I'll have him learn just how much stronger his seniors are than he is. Leah Kane snorted coldly. After traveling to many years, the news quickly spread to every corner of Austin City. Only a few experts and nobles of Austin City heard of it in the beginning, but once someone upgraded this to a matter of national pride, even commoners learned of it as well. In this way, Hansha'o's birth and origins were slowly revealed in utmost clarity. A slave when young, the Babylon Academy of Magic and Force made an exception and enrolled him when he demonstrated surprising potential. He ascended from a lowly rank of mage apprentice to a rare archmage necromancer in less than 2 years. He even had a mysterious technique about him. All of this added together made Han Shao out to be genius. As citizens of Austin City discussed this matter fervently, a few large guilds were already placing bets on this. Gamblers expressed high concerns towards this matter, and no one knew of the Boost Merchant Guild betting enormous sums against Cameron's Merchant Guild. On the west side of Austin City, in the middle of the night, out of the north, southeast and west parts of the city, the west side was the dirtiest and poorest part. This place could be considered the congregation zone of all the poor. There was trash everywhere on the streets, with flies and bedbugs everywhere. Some beggars with rags on their bodies were dozing off in the corner. A stench permanently permeated the surrounding air. However, the moon still shone even on the poorest areas. As the pure white moonlight shone down, it cast long shadows for Han Shao and the others. Some stifled sobs traveled out slightly from one of the ugly and crude houses. "I really didn't want to come here." Chester's expression was long as he sighed. Although Emily stayed within the carriage, her brows were knit tightly together as well. Her tender and white skin was as clear as white jade, and the precious jewels on her head and closely tailored silks and laces marked her as being quite at odds with the surroundings. Emily had seen Chester's information and knew that he was born a commoner. Before he had entered the Dark Mantle, he'd spent some time in the western part of Austin City. However, he didn't miss those days. That was easy enough to see. No one would think too fondly of a place like this. "All right, we'll leave as soon as we are done. There are the poor and rich in every country. This is a truth that will never change, and we don't have the power to change all this," Han Shao called out softly as he sat within the carriage. A troop of about 100 knights were following behind the carriage at a leisurely pace. The troop was in a long formation in the narrow streets. "Come on, we don't have much time, so stop complaining." Emily also rushed Chester onwards. Chester didn't say much else as he skillfully drove the carriage down the quiet streets. He headed for the dirtiest and poorest part of the west side. After making it down this street, Chester slowed down the carriage after a moment in a place filled with sewage and a disgusting stench. "Master Emily, the broken down buildings ahead are where the intelligence seems to point to." Emily changed into a black robe in the carriage and hid her identity as a senior executive of the Dark Mantle. She slowly stepped down from the carriage and spoke to Han Shao. "According to the intelligence, it's the buildings in front of us. The enemy is a leader from the Angel Empire called Yoland. He seems to be a Skyrider." Nodding, Han Shao released 3 Yin demons and bade them slowly slip inside. He himself walked towards the troop of knights who were trailing them, telling an officer, "Don't prematurely alert our enemies. Spread out through the buildings and create a perimeter. Try to approach slowly. Capture anyone alive if you can. Otherwise execute them on the spot. We can't let a single one escape." "Understood," the officer responded and made a gesture towards the knights behind him. The knights slowly spread out and encircled the buildings from a distance away. There had been several mages in the center of the knights who were now revealed due to the knights spreading out. The mages in the magic corps of the Northern Guard were all journeyman or adept mages. There was only one Thunder Archmage. Boris had told him before the mission had started that he was to listen to Han Shao's commands. Some of them had been unruly and rebellious at first, but when Boris told them of Han Shao's identity, all of became docile and didn't dare to not listen to Han Shao's commands. Han Shao had traversed half of the Lancelot Empire in the past few days, challenging villains with infamous reputation. They'd all been killed on the spot, and that kind of violent, ruthless method made Han Shao's evil prestige come to life. The group of mages in front of him had all quieted down afterwards. Someone who could kill numerous experts was someone that they couldn't afford to antagonize, not to mention that he had full control over the team from the commander of the Northern Guards. They would be foolish as to provoke Han Shao. "All right, all of you, find your positions. It's best to stay in between the knights. Listen to my orders afterwards and attack with the strongest spells you've got." Han Shao flicked a glance over the Thunder Archmage and gave his orders. "Understood, Sir Brian," the Thunder Archmage said respectfully with a nod. He wasn't angry at all about Han Shao taking his position as the commander of the Magic Corps. Chapter 283, coolly composed. Before Han Shao's arrival at the Northern Guards, Thunder Archmage Killa had been the leader of the Northern Guards Magic Corps. However, Due to Han Shao-O's appearance, he could only take Han Shao-O's orders now. Killa had originally been a bit reluctant, but after Boris spoke a few words to him, he immediately understood that Han Shao only come to the Northern Guards to gain some military achievements, and that the Magic Corps of Northern Guards would be just a jumping board for Han Shao. After that, not only did that remove any complaint he might have had, he would even intentionally curry Han Shao's favor in hope of a little bit of help when Han Shao became successful. Be careful, they have 20-something people and they're all pretty strong, Han Shao said quietly when he returned to Emily's side after giving his orders. I understand. What do you think we should do? Emily nodded in reply, then asked for Han Shao's opinion. When the 100 knights surround this area, immediately use magic to destroy all obstacles. Capture the experts if you can, otherwise it's fine if you kill all of them. As long as we can find the blueprints, we've essentially finished this mission. Han Shao thought about it and said quietly, we'll do as you say. Those Northern Guards seem to trust you very much. You have to command them well so that they don't mess up, Emily said docilely in front of Han Shao. She had already become used to having him in charge. Then alright, pay attention to Yolan, don't let him escape, Han Shao replied before slowly floating into the air. Han Shao quickly passed through the knights and mages like a ghost. Using the 360-degree surveillance of the three demons, Han Shao continuously gave orders to the surrounding knights. He had them discard their horses and hide in the surroundings. The contingent of knights slowly surrounded the other party, keeping a 150-meter buffer. Han Shao stood proudly in the sky and calmly commanded the knights and mages of the Northern Guards. He made sure to put suitable men in every location. In the meantime, everyone lowered their voices and quietly approached the dirty and broken down building. The distance slowly decreased as the encirclement tightened. When the two parties were only 50 meters apart, Han Shao waved at Killa and the others. Upon seeing his action, they immediately started to chant magic spells quietly, their expressions solemn. My lord, we've been surrounded. I can hear unusual sounds from the wind, a wind mage said anxiously to Yoland, who had a dark and muscular body and was riding a tattooed beast. How is that possible? Yoland suddenly sat up from a pile of straw he'd been resting on. He quickly looked out the window, his expression immediately darkening as he shouted softly, everyone assemble. Find a chance to break through the encirclement. The 20-something people within the room all stood up silently after hearing that. All of them unsheathed their swords and knives and prepared to charge out. As the leader, Yolan remained calm in the face of such a terrible situation. His space ring brightened slightly as he took out the blueprints that he'd spent much effort in obtaining. He carefully dug a hole in the wall and said quietly, the brothers that have come on this operation are all not afraid of death. I will put the blueprints in the widened gap in the wall. If any of you can leave this place alive, you can wait until Asan City is no longer so heavily under guard before returning to take back the blueprints to the Empire. Do you hear me? Don't worry, my lord. We know what to do. That wind mage replied seriously. The other people in the room, you also had undetermined expressions, prepared to make the sacrifice. Suddenly 5 rays of lightning struck down from the sky. The zigzagging lightning illuminated the pitch-dark sky. At the same time, several walls of flames appeared around the building, causing the surrounding temperature to spike up to dangerous levels. Meanwhile, the ground started to tremble as spires started to project from the ground. Yolan and the others who were within the house understood that the attack had already begun. All of them leapt out from the door and windows and started to charge separately from all directions through the attacks of lightning, fire snakes and rock spikes. Kill! Han Shao's cold voice rang out through the entire night. Kill! As lightning suddenly slammed down. When the houses were struck, every single one of them exploded with a deep rumble. 2 men rushed out from those houses. They instantly fell limp onto the ground when they were struck by a bolt of lightning. The 100 knights of the Northern Guards were all elites of the military, every single one holding the strength of a companion at arms or a sergeant. Under Han Shao's orders, each one methodically blockaded the roads. Once they noticed someone dashing towards them, they would immediately move to block the target mercilessly. Send 3 knights to the north to stop them. Kill! I have the Magic Corps attack the 4 experts rushing in from the south. Yoland is in the west. He is a sky rider, so those in the west have to be careful. Using the vision of the 3 demons, Han Shao sent his commands forth leisurely. He would accurately mention the other party's strength and numbers every single time, then send out suitable number of troops to stop the charge of the assassins. Emily and Chester's slowly approached the direction that Yolan was charging towards under Han Shao-Oh's directions. As a thief, attacking straight on wasn't Chester's forte, so he remained among the group of the knights that was setting up the blockade and left it up to Emily, who was ready to attack any time with dark magic. Damn it, why is the enemy so clear about our movements? Yolan had told everyone to separate and attack using the strongest force they could muster. He'd noticed a few weaker areas in the beginning that could have been broken, though sadly before they'd even drawn near, those places had suddenly become heavily guarded, causing those trying to break through to suffer enormous losses. The mages all cast spells in directions that they couldn't see under Han Shao-Oh's orders, yet the spells would always leave Yolan's people in dire straits and heavily wound or even kill those people waiting in the dark. I didn't notice anyone casting Sky's Eye. I don't know why the enemy is able to see our movements so clearly. The Wind Magician's voice was frantic as his anxiety broke through. Everyone, if you think that you can escape easily after breaking the law in the capital city of the Lancelot Empire, then think again. Everyone here is clear on your identities. As long as you lay down your weapons, surrender and identity yourselves, we can allow you to live and wait for the mediators from your country to negotiate. Han Shao fired off a string of orders before hollering at them with a smile. Their actions were completely revealed to Han Shao through the unit demon's surveillance. Then he would organize experts of appropriate skill to stop the would-be escapees. He had successfully killed enough of the assassins, leaving only 13. On the other hand, the Northern Guard only had 4 lightly wounded and 1 heavily wounded when the other party fought back until the brink of death. Aside from that, there was no one who had died. Yet only fearless attacks were the answer to Han Shao's announcement. None of the assassins from the Angel Empire showed the slightest bit of hesitation. After Han Shao had finished speaking, they viciously tried to break through the encirclement again. Han Shao could determine that these people were all death-sworn from their reactions and strength. They probably hadn't had any thoughts of surviving after entering the Lancelot Empire. It was an unrealistic notion to capture these people alive. Thus, after a bit of hesitation, Han Shao suddenly commanded everyone, don't hold back any longer, just kill them all. Brothers, rush out with all your might. Even if you can't, you have to bring several of them down with you. Shouted Yoland after hearing Han Shao's merciless orders. You have no more chances. Emily's cold voice sounded as she glared at Yoland from her black robes. The technicians in the military factory were all helpless civilians. All of them were killed savagely. You guys truly do deserve to die today. Ha ha, since they were not people from my empire, so what if they died? Yoland laughed maniacally as he raised a huge broadsword and rode atop of his statued beast. He dashed directly towards Emily. Woman, are you stop me by yourself? Foolish. Han Shao's thick murderous aura spread out with lightning speed before Emily could chant a spell. The demon slayer edge shone with crimson light as the blood-red sword aura cleaved down towards Yoland from the sky with unparalleled ferociousness. Yoland had been dashing towards Emily and hadn't thought that Han Shao would suddenly attack like this, not to mention from above. Although he had the strength of a sky rider, he still found it a bit difficult to face this sort of sudden attack. The broadsword that he was holding horizontally had to quickly rise to meet the demon slayer edge attacking down from above his head. Clang! Sparks exploded everywhere and a clear crack appeared in Yoland's broadsword. He snorted as his shoulder trembled while the 4 short legs of the tattooed beast underneath him snapped, unable to withstand the force. The tattooed beast fell onto the floor as its wolf-like head continuously spat out blood. Haha, don't think of obtaining the blueprints even if you kill me. All of the technicians were killed. You won't be able to create the war chariots without the blueprints. Yoland looked tragically at the tattooed beast underneath him first before laughing savagely with a grimace. Since he had no way of attacking Han Shao in the sky, he could only sprint quickly towards Emily. Isn't it just hidden in the gap in the walls? What's so hard to find about that? Han Shao said with contempt. Han Shao ignored Yoland as the latter's expression drastically changed and dashed towards the room the targets had originally been hiding in with lightning speed. Chapter 284. A big gamble. Though Yoland had been about to attack Emily, his heart suddenly spasmed when he heard Han Shao reveal his most closely guarded secret. Just as he intended to turn around and run back into the room to destroy the blueprint, several bolts whizzed at him with whooshing sounds. Emily waved the magic staff in her hand and a sharp Grim Reaper's blade sliced across Yoland's body with a deathly glint. Stop him! Don't let him take the blueprint! Yoland's voice was shrill. He hastily raised his broadsword to block the Grim Reaper. Reaper's blade. The assassins of the Angel Empire were originally about to break through the encirclement but abandoned the idea upon hearing Yolan's shout. They swiftly turned back one by one and rushed straight at Han Sha-Oh. Unfortunately, their power was a far cry from Han Sha-Oh's. The difference in speed was like heaven and earth. Han Sha-Oh utilized the art of the mnemonic ninth heavens and flew into the room like lightning. The assassins only caught up with him after he'd pulled the blueprint from a hollow corner on the wall. Die! Han Sha-Oh coldly shouted before landing with the Demon Slayer wretch. He walked towards the furiously sprinting assassins of the Angel Empire. When Han Sha-Oh released the mystical glacial spell fire, the Demon Slayer wretch exploded with brilliant purple-red light. The light sparked like a rainbow on the tip of the blade and rapidly formed one willowy flame after another. The beautiful light from the flashing purple-red flames danced on the blade of the Demon Slayer wretch. They gathered into twisting threads of fire that entangled each other, creating two magic nets of flame, one purple, one red. The madly charging Angel Empire assassins only had one obsession in their heart: to destroy Han Sha-Oh. Faced with the two blazing hot and icy cold magical nets, they all released their strongest level of fighting or trying to tear the nets apart. However, Han Sha-Oh had firmly grasped the whole new level of the mystical glacial spell fire at his current strength. The two nets of magic twisted and swayed about in the air as if two fishing nets thrown into the sea. The lights from the swords simply landed on empty holes and wasn't able to penetrate the beautiful flames. Not good. Fall back. The distant Yolan, who desperately dodged the Grim Reaper's blade, also rushed toward Han Sha-Oh. Upon seeing his subordinate's swords unable to rip apart the magic nets, he immediately understood that these nets of unknown material couldn't be torn by just the sword. That was why he couldn't help but shout a reminder to his subordinates. However, the two strangely swaying magic nets in the air actually possessed an extremely fast speed. The nets didn't wait for the assassins to react before they spread out and shrouded the whole group. When the red net fell down, the flame threads touched three assassins like scorching hot iron. A thick smoke erupted as their skin and flesh was burned to a crisp. Every one of them was paralyzed and fell to the ground amidst their own tragic screams. The purple net blanketed the remaining four assassins. Their limbs instantly stiffened and their bodies shivered as if they had been trapped in an ice block. The cold air maintained their previous dodging or attacking postures. "I'll end my life with yours." Yolan had finally reached Han Sha-Oh. Upon seeing his brothers shrouded in the nets, each either burned to ashes or frozen solid like ice, he roared and raised his sword, rushing at Han Sha-Oh without a care for his life. Hey, I'm afraid you won't have that chance." Han Sha-Oh released the Demon Slayer edge with an indifferent smile on his face and charged towards Yolan. Yolan's expression turned hideous as he raised his broadsword to receive Han Sha-Oh's attack. Yolan kept laughing maniacally when he saw Han Sha-Oh quickly close in. He was about to disregard everything to risk his life to fight Han Sha-Oh when a pair of arms suddenly emerged from the ground where he stood and tightly grabbed his ankles. "Shoot him dead." Han Sha-Oh had been rushing towards Yolan when he suddenly screeched to a halt in body midair. He shouted to the dozen Northern Guard soldiers who were holding bows and approaching in the distance. Yolan couldn't budge his feet. He stared dumbly at Han Sha-Oh floating in the air. The latter was only about 5 meters away right in front of him, but Yolan had no way to move. When Yolan slashed downwards on the pair of big arms with his sword, the arms holding his legs retreated back into the underground. His 2 feet suddenly felt a soul-shaking pain as 2 bone spikes shot out from the ground and pierced deeply from his feet to his knees. While he was wailing like a pig being butchered, several arrows quickly shot towards Yolan, whistling through the air until they penetrated his body. Before he died, his killing intent, filled with resentment, transformed into an air barely visible to the naked eye and was absorbed by Han Sha-Oh. The lineup of the 20-odd assassins from the Angel Empire had no survivors left, including Yolan. None of their resentful killing intent had escaped Han Sha-Oh's absorption, enabling his demonic magic to grow increasingly perfect. The feeling of breaking through was becoming increasingly stronger. Han Sha-Oh walked to the 4 frozen assassins and shot out 4 pitch-black lights into their bodies. 4 cracking sounds echoed as the originally frozen stiff assassins fell limply down. Han Shao turned to speak to the leader of the Northern Guard army. These four aren't dead yet. Guard them strictly and don't let them commit suicide. This will be our answer to His Majesty as well. Rest assured, Master Brian, we know what to do. The leader readily agreed and ordered the soldiers behind him men tied up these four assassins and gagged them. Don't give them the chance to bite their tongues and kill themselves. Following the orders of their leader, the dozen soldiers quickly walked forward and took out special binding tools from the bags that they always carried. From their practiced actions and plentiful equipment, Han Shao could instantly confirm that it would be even harder for these four assassins to seek death. When they were brought to the Northern Guard's prison, they would be anesthetized and their spirits drained of strength. They would be too weak to even bite their tongues. It might actually be possible to torture something out of them. Han Shao stopped paying attention to these four. He walked to Emily's side, took out the blueprint and gave it to her, saying, "Take this. This mission can now be considered completed. I will give you the blueprint so you can hand them into the Northern Guard. As you have the blueprint that the Northern Guard's been desperately seeking, you can report into His Majesty now." Emily naturally wouldn't stand on ceremony with Han Shao. As she couldn't reveal her identity, she didn't say anything to him and only nodded before turning around. She swiftly walked to Chester's carriage and got in. They left together and quickly disappeared out of sight. "Master Brian, we could successfully capture the assassins of the Angel Empire and recover the blueprint they'd hidden, this time only thanks to you. If Count Boris can say a few good words in front of His Majesty, this deed is enough to grant you a title." Lightning Archmage Killua walked over to Han Shao and offered his sincere congratulations. He seemed even more excited than Han Shao. It's everyone's credit. I wouldn't have been able to catch them all by myself without everyone's combined efforts. You all get back to work. I still have something to deal with. I'll need to leave for a moment. Han Shao looked at Killua and said with a smile, "Alright then, Master Brian, please leave first. We can take care of the aftermath." Killua respectfully replied. Nodding his head, Han Shao didn't linger. He chose another direction and quickly disappeared from sight in a dirty, chaotically slum of the city's west end. When night fell and everyone was resting, Han Shao soundlessly appeared at the Boost Merchant Guild. He followed the familiar path to Phoebe's room. "No need to consider any more. I believe that Brian will definitely win. Our crisis may even be completely over with this gamble. Let's take out all of our active funds and fight it out with Cameron and his group." Phoebe stood in the middle of the living room, voicing her resolution in a competent and astute manner. "Little Phoebe, this needs reconsideration. I know of the relationship between you and Brian. His strength is good, but Leah Kane has been famous for too long and is also very powerful. Everyone agrees that he has a better winning chance. This bet is no trivial matter. If we lose, I'm afraid that our Boost Merchant Guild will also go down with it." Boost Guild veteran Elder Andrew leaned on his walking stick and spoke somewhat worried. Andrew was an original elder of the Boost Merchant Guild. Before Phoebe had taken over, he had wholeheartedly cared for her, so she was very much concerned about his viewpoints. However, Phoebe had gained majority control of the guild after becoming the owner. During this period, the guild had actually made great progress under her hand. Andrew was satisfied, understanding that Phoebe wasn't one to work based on her emotions. He might not have been so worried if it wasn't for Leah Kane's widespread fame. "Rest assured, Grandpa Andrew, Brian's strength is much more formidable than you can imagine. Moreover, Cameron has forced us to this state already. The merchant alliance he has led is intensely suppressing us, and it's difficult for us to do anything now. Even without this gamble, they will still pressure us bit by bit until we're exhausted. If we can win this time, we can reverse the situation. Those merchant guilds cooperating with Cameron won't give him face if he faces a heavy loss. Only when we hold a huge amount of gold coins can we truly control the situation." Phoebe calmly explained her analysis to Andrew. Since you've said so, let's do it like that. I hope Brian won't disappoint us, otherwise our Boost Merchant Guild can be considered finished." Andrew thought for a while before finally nodding in agreement to Phoebe's proposal. This showed the immense crisis the guild was facing. Otherwise they wouldn't have chosen such a gamble to save the situation. Chapter 285. Dazzling. Phoebe sat alone after Andrew left, frowning in contemplation. It seemed that the crisis the Boost Merchant Guild was facing was indeed very serious. Otherwise Phoebe wouldn't choose to strike using a gambling method given her cautious nature. Han Sha-oh slowly came in without a sound, his eyes bright as he looked at Phoebe as soon as he entered the door. After a moment of silence, Phoebe was suddenly surprised. Looking up to see Han Sha-oh, she revealed a smile and said with delight, "You've come back? Rest assured, Leah Kane will die to my sword tomorrow without a doubt." Han Sha-oh smiled and walked towards Phoebe. He reached out his hand and smoothed the spot between her wrinkled eyebrows before speaking softly. "I believe you." Our Boost Merchants Alliance took out 700,000 gold coins this time. Cameron will have to compensate us 5 times that amount based on the current odds as long as you kill Leah Kane. Cameron won't be able to bear the costs no matter how much money he has. After this victory, our Boost Alliance will have an enormous amount of gold coins and the danger from Cameron's group will naturally disappear. Phoebe very much enjoyed Han Sha-oh's tenderness. She relaxed her body and leaned on his chest, saying softly, "All right, go rest early. I'll meditate here for tonight. I'll go to the garden house tomorrow to issue a challenge to Leah Kane and settle this problem as soon as possible." Han Sha-oh patted Phoebe's shoulder and urged. Phoebe nodded meekly upon hearing Han Sha-oh's words. Her expression relaxed into a smile as she said, "Rest assured, I'll come with you tomorrow and watch you kill Leah Kane for myself. I know you'll definitely win." Phoebe didn't stay after finishing speaking. She walked into the back room with a chuckle and softly said, "After you win, keep me company for a nice chat." Han Sha-oh sat cross-legged in the hall after Phoebe left. He silently circulated his magical yuan and recovered his mental strength bit by bit, gradually adjusting the state of his body. In Han Sha-oh's body, the demon infant was as if surrounded by a bloody whirlpool. Each drop of blood essence was like a precious ruby, sparkling translucently as each drop formed a red lustrous crystal shape. The drops of blood essence swirled into a whirlpool and nourished the demon infant in its center. The layers of blood red mist, which was the killing intent gathered in the bloodlust realm, surrounded this whirlpool, also nourishing the demon infant. The demon infant was a copy of Han Sha-oh except about the size of a fist. A black spot appeared between its eyebrows where the demon slayer edge was stored. The enormous amount of killing intent absorbed during this time had been stored in his body and condensed into a black spot in the demon infant's glabella. In this way, the connection between Han Sha-oh and the demon slayer edge constantly matured. The demon infant and the demon slayer edge could also support each other to absorb even more energy. Once the demon slayer edge successfully developed its own soul, its connection with Han Sha-oh would be another step closer. Slicing off a human head from 1,000 miles away with only a thought wouldn't be an impossible feat. In the past several days, Han Sha-oh had been going to war everywhere and killing many experts. Han Sha-oh had swallowed and absorbed their killing intent and resentment in order to improve himself bit by bit. He'd already absorbed an enormous amount, in particular from his trip to the Forbidden Land, which had helped both him and the demon slayer edge improve immensely. Han Sha-oh had slowly gained control over his nature in the bloodlust realm. Once the killing intent accumulated to a certain extent, it would gradually transform from quantitative to qualitative. Only then would he be able to break through to the separate demon realm and his strength would take another step forward. Not only would Han Sha-oh be able to practice higher level secret demonic skills, but he could also separate his consciousness from his body. He would possess some unimaginable miraculous abilities. After a night of meditation, Han Sha-oh was in high spirits the next day as he left the Boost Merchant Guild with Phoebe and went to the garden house where Leah Kane resided. The past several days, news of Han Sha-oh challenging the crazy Leah Kane had spread throughout Austin City thanks to the deliberate work of Candide and Lawrence. Many aristocratic spies were lurking in the neighborhood of the garden house. In addition to them, experts from all walks of life were full of enthusiasm as they waited for Han Sha-oh's arrival. Han Sha-oh stepped down from Phoebe's carriage and was walking alone to the garden house when someone recognized him. Amidst the whispering and discussion, the spies of every house quickly sent in reports of this news. The whispering turned into a hubbub in the blink of an eye. More and more people gathered at the garden house upon hearing the news. Leah Kane was famous among the aristocrats and powerhouses as the crazy great sword master of the Brute Merchant Alliance. Such a character had raised a storm when he had appeared in Austin City and defeated 3 of the city's great sword masters. It was a pity that Leah Kane was a foreigner, otherwise the Lancelot Empire's civilians wouldn't be so upset about this. Han Sha-oh's fame had bloomed just the same during this time period. Of course, his reputation wasn't that good either, Because he had continuously killed his opponents, his infamy had spread far and wide. Even though Han Shao's reputation was bad, he was still a citizen of the Lancelot Empire after all, so everybody hoped for his victory. The nobles and civilians cheered as they sent him in on the way to the house garden. These people had known to come here early because Lawrence had revealed to them that Han Shao would walk down this path within the next 2 days. They tried their luck whenever they were idle and waited in this place. Everyone danced in happiness as they didn't expect Han Shao would really come today. Han Shao was 1 meter 90 centimeters tall. He wore a simple and capable looking black warrior's outfit, his figure handsome and masculine. After a long time of cultivating demonic magic, cultivators would possess a striking evil temperament. When the noble ladies saw Han Shao for the first time, they already harbored goodwill for him regardless of right and wrong. People were first whispering in discussion, but later they all screamed non-stop upon throwing a glance at Han Shao's blazing eyes. Humphrey, I'll die from anger. He disappeared for so many days in one go and made me wait again this time. If it weren't for the uproar this time, I'm afraid I wouldn't have known when I'd be able to see him again. On a path to the garden house, Fanny was leading a group of people from the Babylon Academy of Magic and Force. She looked toward Han Shao from afar and bitterly whispered her complaints. Master Fanny, what did you say just now? Look, it's really Brian. When I first heard of this news, I thought it was fake. I didn't think that it really was Brian. He's unexpectedly challenged that wicked Liacane. Everyone is so excited about this. Amy from the Necromancy Major animatedly waved her fists as she watched Han Shao walking towards the garden house. She turned to Fanny and noisily screamed, I didn't say anything. Fanny covered up with a smile and said, I didn't expect this brat to be so calm in front of so many people. It seems that he has really matured. Brian is really very powerful. His deeds have spread everywhere in Awesome City. Even our Necromancy Major has gained some new students. These new students actually chose our weak Necromancy Major as soon as they entered the Babylon Academy. The tables have turned. Athena was excited all the same. She looked at the proudly walking Han Shao and exclaimed. Lisa tagged along this time, but she was silent compared to the past. She was no longer constantly twittering and only quietly followed the distant dashing Han Shao with her gaze. Seeing him acting so leisurely even in the presence of so many people, Lisa suddenly felt that he should have been this dazzling from the start. I am Brian. I have come here to see Mr. Liacane. Upon reaching the gate of the garden house, Han Shao spoke smilingly to the guard. A great number of nobles and civilians had crowded the alleys and gazing pavilions around the garden house. The news of Han Shao's challenge had soon spread. Liacane had also left an order earlier, so the guard naturally knew what to do. Mr. Liacane is currently training. He has been expecting your arrival and has made arrangements. You can enter as soon as you arrive, the guard said respectfully. Great, then please lead the way, Han Shao said with a smile. Han Shao came in following the guidance of the guard. All of the onlookers were blocked outside. After all, this place was private property, so no one could enter without the owner's permission. Let us in, let us in. That's right, we have waited a long time for this. Please let us in. I am Count Asi of the Lancelot Empire. I want to see Mr. Liacane. After Han Shao entered, the nobles and civilians outside tried various methods to access the garden house. Not far from the place, several carriages slowly lined up. The decorations of these carriages were extremely luxurious. It only took a look to know they belonged to the nobility. First, Prince Charles led a group of aristocrats in a slow approach. The group included Mr. Han and Emily of the Betteridge family, Finance Minister Evie along with Lawrence Boris of the Northern Guard, and many other nobles. Candide along with tall handsome Amis, who had a refined presence and was one of the 3 heavyweights of the Dark Mantle, also appeared in a gazing pavilion opposite of the garden house. Everyone was raptly watching the inner area of the garden house.